friends, thank you for joining me today. I hope that you're doing well. With all of the COVID-19 craziness, everything has just been turned upside down, so I hope that no matter what you're going through, you're doing okay, and we will pull through this. So anyway, to get on with my video today, I'm going to be reviewing the second book of the Poppy War series called The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. This came out just last summer. I remember seeing it on the shelves, and I had not read the Poppy War up to that point, and it looked interesting, and I heard pretty good things about it. So I recently reviewed the Poppy War, and I will leave a link somewhere in the cards or description for you to go and check out my review if you haven't seen it. But as per usual, when I review books in a series, I won't be including spoilers for the Dragon Republic itself, but there will be spoilers for the Poppy War. So you've been warned to check out my other review if you're interested. At the end of this video, I may have a short little segment where I just vent about a couple little things that will have spoilers, but I'll let you know when that time comes. So, following the aftermath of Rin decimating the island of Mugen with the power of the Phoenix, she is haunted by her actions, struggling to hold the psyche together in Alton's stead, and doing everything that she can to basically avoid facing her recent traumas. The only thing driving her to keep living is to kill the Empress Su Daji, who betrayed Nikan to their enemies. Rin is eventually left with no choice but to team up with the Dragon Warlord, whose goal is to overthrow the Empress and create a democratic republic. There are lots of politics at play, especially when the Hesperians get involved, and Rin has to question the true motives of people around her as the Dragon Republic grows in strength and faces opposition from the Empire. So I'm gonna go ahead and give my rating for this right at the start. I gave this 2 out of 5. If there were half ratings on Goodreads, I would give it 2.5. For one, I think this book was too long. It clocks in at 654 pages, which is pretty thick. There was a lot of traveling and shuffling back and forth and around that felt unnecessarily expository and just took up a lot of pages without actually developing or moving the plot along at all. I think if this book was cut down by like a third at least, it would help with the slow pacing a lot. If you have watched my review of the Poppy War, you know how much I loved and appreciated Rin as the main character. I liked her simple and clear motivations and the fact that she never tried to be a hero. And what's frustrating is that I think Rin is much the same person in this book as she was in the first, but she's just so much less likable and tolerable in the Dragon Republic. There is zero character growth for her in this book, and there are moments in this book that weren't present in the last where she's shown to be extremely gullible and brainless, and let me tell you, I was so sick of her pining after Alton. In the first book, there was like no romance between Alton and Rin. She had a bit of a crush on him and wanted his approval, but that's it. In this book, she just becomes unhealthily obsessed with him, and it just feels weird and nonsensical. I did like getting to see Rin and Neja's relationship in this book, though, and Kuang doesn't stop with the social commentary about oppression and privilege and classism, and there are still a lot of parallels between real-world cultures and places in her novel, between the real world and the fictional places in her novel. I also mentioned briefly in that review that I wished shamanism was explored more. You really don't get to see much of it beyond a few characters like Rin, Alton, and Chagan in the first book, and unfortunately in this sequel, the exploration of shamanism is very, shall I say, stunted, and it really makes the story a combination of frustrating and boring, considering how exciting and terrifying Rin and her abilities were shown to be in the Poppy War. And I get the feeling, this sneaking suspicion, that with the last book, we still aren't going to get much more in-depth about shamanism and how it works, which is disappointing to me anyway. So again, some things I can't talk about without spoiling, but There are some things that happen in the plot that honestly just don't really add up or make sense, and are just some are that are just straight up silly. Most of the characters feel really shallow. Some of them I really didn't care about because we basically only ever know like their names and what their abilities and skills are, and that's it. Um, Honestly, the psych were so underutilized in this book. The majority of them felt like random background characters given a shout out on occasion because Kwong had introduced them in the first book, but then like couldn't figure out what the heck to do with them in the second book. And the pacing oscillated between being very slow with this arduous setup and then having these really quick I can't snap. These really quick moments of like realization that just happen so fast, and suddenly everything is clear and obvious to our characters, and it just feels so forced and scripted, if that makes sense. The last 150 pages were very action packed and entertaining, and I enjoyed them a lot. But most of the rest of it just felt like a bunch of one step forward, two steps back through a molasses of angst. I still finished this book at a good clip, and I'm still interested in reading the last book, but The Dragon Republic wasn't nearly as good as The Poppy War. It was slow, had much sloppier writing, and the main character had no agency in the story. Rin had no agency at all. She was just doing what everyone else wanted her to do. There were still moments that I enjoyed and that I thought were exciting, but overall, this book was just extremely blah. And honestly, that's my review of The Dragon Republic. Despite this being a chonky, thick book, I feel like I don't really have too much to say about it because, like I said, it was just like, it was kind of blah. It just wasn't that great. I mean, I made it through it and it wasn't really a slog, but it was just not very exciting. And I am going to say a couple things now. If you don't want spoilers for this book, thank you for watching, and I hope I see you next time, but please click away because I'm going to talk about a couple things, specific things in this book that are spoilery. So, spoiler alert. So, the fact that Rin gets her magic sealed away inside her just slowed down the book so much. Like, this whole, I mean, of course the story is about, at the core of any story is about people and their relationships, but just with her not having her magic, it just stunted her growth, stunted the plot. She couldn't do anything, and it was just really boring that she couldn't use the flame. And then when she meets the people from the north, when she meets them and she goes into that sweat tent to purify out the poison, what? It's one of the stupidest ideas I've ever heard. I'm sorry if I think it's really stupid that this sweat tent, how are you sweating out this spiritual poison? Like, there was no real ritual or anything around it. It was just like a sweat tent, and she just had to focus, and it just, I don't know, it didn't, I thought it was really stupid, and then it didn't even work the whole way. So it was like, what was the point of that? That was so stupid. Like, all of that effort over this really stupid process, in my opinion, and it didn't actually work. And then there were several moments between Rin and Neja with a communication error that honestly conflict could have been avoided if they had just said what the problem was rather than just this tiptoeing around and not actually saying what the problem is or what's on your mind or whatever. Oh yeah, the other thing was before the sweat tent thing, when they first find Rin, and Kite, I think, was there. When they're about to kill him, to kill Rin, and the leader, gosh, I can't remember the terms, but the leader, that woman, that old woman, tells her the story or shows her that flashback of the triad when they were younger. So she shows Rin the flashback, they come back to the reality, and she goes, now do you understand why I have to kill you? Kill her! Like, that was pure exposition. That was villain monologuing right there. There was no reason for her to explain herself to Rin. She should have just killed her. No reason to show her why she was killing her if she was just gonna be dead in 5 seconds anyway. That was so pointless and poor writing. and I thought the first book was really good. I really liked the first book, rated at 4 out of 5, and the Dragon Republic just in no way lived up to how good the first one was. So yeah, I do plan on reading the third one. And hopefully it meets in the middle somewhere, at least better at least than the Dragon Republic, if not as good as the Poppy War. But yeah, so that was just a mini sort of casual, not super thought out rant that I just had. There were just a couple things that were on my mind that were kind of obnoxious reading this book. So anyway, if you're still here, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!